Always keeping it fun and lively for us in the stash. Welcome back, gang. Hanging out Real Talk Radio San Diego. We got you locked in from your 11 to 12 o'clock hour here on ESPN 1700. And hanging out in studio with a very special guest, Brent Chastain, owner of Chastain Creations. Brent is doing it old school. Dude loves the woods. Got a little lumber backdrop. Probably picked up some stuff along the way from his old man, and maybe some discipline from being a Marine. Thank you for your service, by the way. And has crunched all that down into raising his hand and now being a part of the artisanal movement. Artisanal what? Like cheese? Nah. Like tables and stuff, right? So having this conversation with my man. By the way, you can check out the tables and stuff. That's probably not doing it a total service. Over at his website at ChastainCreations.com. Now, here's the part that I've been dying for, right? So bring me into the realm of the custom. Like, you have a great little frame for this. You call this the Chisel and Hammer line.
Yes.
Right? So let's say I'm of that right there. I raised my hand. I want me a Chisel and Hammer line. So what does that look like?
Well, this table is going to take a while. So if you want one of those, you be patient. You know, you could put your order in, but it's going to take a few months. Basically, these tables require passion and a lot of just solo time, where you're not doing anything else, but you're just taking a chisel and a hammer, and you're sitting with that thing for hours, up to 100 hours, or maybe even more, just on one top.
Wow.
So that chisel and hammer line is really more of an exclusive line, where you're getting all of my passion put into that thing. I'll spend as much time as I need to make that thing look just the way I want to. Like just the other day, a couple Saturdays ago, I spent about 8 hours just working on just almost like an eighth of just one top, like just chiseling 1/8 of the top. And it was like 8 hours. And I didn't even get done with that spot. So it's like these tables take a long time. That line takes a long time. I think people that would be looking for something like that, like, you know, if they have like a home that they want this piece that people just see and they want to look at for a long time, you know, something that just stands out and pops in their kitchen or in their, you know, in their living room, wherever they just want this centerpiece that just makes a huge statement. You know, that's kind of the idea behind that.
When you mentioned the frame of this being an art form, to be sure, and so if you could imagine, like, you get a custom house, it doesn't even have to be a custom house, just like your trophy house, right? The table is just as much of a signature of a room as the piece of art you may or may not be lucky enough to have on the wall, is it not?
Exactly, yes.
So for something like that, I got to imagine that's in the healthy 5-figure budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, tables like that, you know, because of the time they take, they start around 10,000.
Yeah, they've got to.
Yeah, and they could work up, you know, closer to 50 or maybe even more, just depending on how much time it takes for each piece.
So again, I raise my hand. Let's say I'm that guy, right? Lucky enough to have a custom piece from the Chisel and Hammer set. Why would I want that? So like, what is it about the finished piece that would make it so different from, say, a more conventional piece from your line?
Yes. Well, I think a lot of it is just, the idea is to have that name behind it, that it was, you know, it's a Chisel and Hammer collection piece. So not only is it could be an investment. You know, as I grow this business, I am planning to be around for a while.
Yeah,
so
good for you.
You know, the idea is if somebody buys something like that now, that, you know, even the guy that I've made one, a couple of them. The first one I made, I've told the guy, I said, you've made an investment in this piece. You know, hopefully this will be worth a lot more than it is, you know, than you paid for it. You know, that's kind of where I'm going with it. You know, I want it to be like an art piece that would be appreciated for generations.
Not only appreciated, but appreciating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're counting on you. All the Chisel and Hammer lines, we're counting on you to be doing better work so that your stuff appreciates. No, I love that.
Yeah.
So, like, does it matter where you source the wood for a piece like that?
A lot of that stuff is the stuff that I've pulled out, you know, from the woods myself, and I've set aside specifically for that line, knowing that it's going to be part of that line. A lot of these pieces have a lot of actual like rot and different character to them that needs to be like chiseled away and shaped and, you know, made to look, you know, cleaner and refined. I also like to leave more, you know, the natural character as well. I'm not refining it all the way, but it just takes a lot of thought, time, and passion into each piece.
Jen, you've heard him mention the word rot a couple times.
I have heard that. Yes.
It's curious, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that like you're actually working with the rot.
Yeah. So over the years, these trees, through the rain and the weather and the harsh weathers and stuff, they just, they're super strong wood. Like redwood is, really fire tolerant. It's, pretty rot tolerant wood, but just over 50 to 100 years or more, like a log's going to start to decay. That's just part of the natural process. So the cool part about it is it just adds more character for us. Like, and it's funny because, as my dad did a lot of logging through the years, this stuff just wasn't good logging material, so, it's kind of overlooked, and I was able to take it and, turn it into this stuff and utilize that rot and
you gotta love that,
turn
right,
it
Jen?
into art.
Yeah. I know something that's, it's basically being repurposed. It's being, it's given a new life, if you will.
Exactly.
So for the character of the piece, if something is rotting, it still looks beautiful, even though it has
totally.
that word rot associated to it. So what does that do to a piece if it has rot in it?
Well, like throughout the center of the table, you might have a couple holes with like some interesting character to them, where maybe even like a fire was able to get into. So you have like this. I have a couple pieces where the rot in the center of that particular piece allowed for the fire to go in, and you have it charred around the center of that hole.
Oh,
so like you have different character that comes out through that. And then some of them just have where you'll notice that there's like little like spots that have rotted in the slab. So you'll have to actually like carve them out. And then what we do is we like fill them with epoxies and stuff like that. And some of these epoxies are really cool because you can add colors to them, and also you can just get clear ones, so you can refine where the rot wood was originally, and then put the epoxy in so they can actually see kind of what was there and what underneath. So it's almost like you're putting a piece of glass in there.
Oh, interesting.
Like a time capsule of some sort. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
So the only part we haven't really heard you talk about too much so far, and I'd love to maybe riff on are the bases.
Yes.
Because the bases are just as much a custom piece as you're doing to the top, right? Now, are you doing the bases?
So I started off doing the bases myself, and then I realized like I want to focus this, and the tops are my focus. I want to specialize in learning these and in mastering the tops. And actually, within my family up in LA is Bill Lazo, who's been he's been an iron worker for doing wrought iron gates and for big homes, and he's a big play in this. Actually, he's going to start doing custom designs for these bases and stuff. So he's more in the Chisel and Hammer line, where he's going to be doing like actually pounding out this wrought iron and making stuff. And then I've hand selected a few metal workers in the nation that I think are some of the best to pair up with these tables. So the idea is I'll let the pros stick to the bases. Yeah. And they'll be creative. They'll do that, and I'll do the tops. That's kind of.
And there's a ton of wisdom in that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's really something to be said about the expertise, and it really being kind of a specialist from each area coming in to create something. It's really. Definitely.
And even to kind of go on that a little bit more, like as I've done this, like I've finished pretty much everything that I've sold, but there's professional finishers that do that full time. Like that's what they know. Like I know the wood, I know how to shape it, I know how to create it and make it fit the base. But these guys are professionals. So like some pieces I'll actually send to a professional to finish, because I want actually the idea is to have our own professional spray booths and hire professionals that can be doing that full time. Right now we're actually outsourcing a lot of that stuff. So I'll basically be the creative director of the piece. And when it comes to shaping the slab, that's my main focus is turning it into that art piece and making it so it can be finished and pair it up with a base.
Excellent. Is that what the future of the business looks like? Are you looking to bring on experts from the finishing and
Exactly. Yeah, the idea would be to have that all in-house. So we have basically a process where we have professionals in every industry that are running this through and making it happen. So we have professional sanding equipment. We have professional artisans and shapers that would shape the woods and the slabs. And then, basically they go through this process where on the outside, on the outcome, they're finished, beautiful pieces of wood that have been refined and made into works of art. And then we could actually have 3 or 4 metal workers in that profession that produce different style bases for us. And, that would just, I think, increase the quality of the product and also offer the customer exactly what they want.
Absolutely. Very interesting. I would like a table the more we're talking. Or
I know,
two.
fit us for a little one right here in the studio.
Yeah, that would look good. Yeah,
that'd be great over here.
Install all the audio equipment in the top.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All custom style.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
From the first table made in a single car garage.
Yes.
I'm sure probably not too far from where you lived at the time, right?
Yeah, just right there. We had this little detached single car garage.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sold your first spot there, Seaport Village. Now got your own digs up in Carlsbad, where you actually have a spot, like you'd mentioned earlier to Jen, how folks can actually come in and help kind of co-create the process. And
exactly. Yeah.
actually have a hand and say in the creative element. I love that concept. Brent Chastain, gang. You can catch him over at ChastainCreations.com, or you can call him at 760-405-7820. I'll give that number one more time, 760-405-7820. Coming up, gang, final thoughts with Brent and a little something that he hasn't shared with us yet. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We'll be right back.